My name is Rudolph Gilbert Garcia. I was born in San Diego, California on March 16, 1927. At that time, Charles Lindbergh crossed the Atlantic and made history. My mother, Maria, was born in La Paz, Mexico, Baja, California in 1886. My father, Rudolph, was born 1889, same place. My mother was a school teacher. My father was a military captain serving under General Pancho Villa in the Civil War of Mexico to overthrow Porfirio Diaz, the dictator who had ruled Mexico for 40-some-odd years. My father was captured by the Federal Army in order to be executed, but my mother intervened. You see, she was a tutor to the general's daughter, and so as the story goes, my father was released on the condition that he leave Mexico. That's when my parents came to the United States, San Diego, California. It was 1915. The revolution ended in 1916. My two brothers and three sisters and I were all born in the United States. I was in the middle. We all attended Emerson Elementary School on Logan Avenue. It's still there. My father was a carpenter and contractor working at Caliente Racetrack in Tijuana in the 1920s. There are still 4 houses standing on 32nd Street that my father built. This was during the Great Depression. He must have been really good to have a job at that time. Millions were unemployed, 4 million in the United States. Being an officer in the military, he must have been an intelligent person. He was a good provider and eventually bought the house we lived in, but he died at the early age of 42 of pneumonia and left my mother widowed at 45 years. She did not speak English. It was very difficult for her with 6 children and no father during the midst of the Depression. But she decided to stay in San Diego and not return to Mexico, which was brave of her. She wanted a better life for us and for herself, and she lived to be 103 years old. When the war was declared on Japan, I was just 17 years old. My brother Mike was drafted into the Army and went to the Philippines. I wanted to serve, but I was too young. So I dropped out of high school and joined the Merchant Marine and was sent to Catalina Island for boot camp under the United States Maritime System, where we were trained to use 20-millimeter cannons and machine guns. I thought I had joined the armed forces. I wanted to serve my country. I was patriotic, especially at that time. I found myself on the SS Donald M. Dickinson, a Liberty ship, 10,000 tons, bomb-laden. I was an ordinary seaman, 8 to 12 watch. We joined a convoy at Puget Sound, headed towards the South Pacific, Saipan, Mariana Islands. 29 days later, it took 5 days to unload our ships of ammunition. There was no docks. We were anchored about 2 to 3 miles out. There was gunfire all around us. The war was going on. U.S. Marines and Japanese were fighting in the hills. All night we heard the guns, the artillery booming. I saw some of the Japanese troops surrendering. I thought at that time, I should be in high school right now. What am I doing here? I was scared. I was 17 years old. As Merchant Marines, we had no weapons. We were civilian seamen just bringing supplies and bombs to Saipan, but I still thought I was part of the armed forces. After 5 days, we headed back to Seattle. About 28 days later, the ship crew were paid off and discharged. The war was still going on. I went home but shipped out again after 30 days on a gasoline tanker, the SS Contreras out of San Pedro, California. This time to the South Pacific in a convoy of 14 ships. To the Marshall Islands. After 3 months at sea, we came home. I caught a Greyhound bus to San Diego. I was then 19 years old. About 6 months later, after the war ended, I received a package in the mail from President Truman, recognizing us, thanking us for our service in the Merchant Marines, a victory medal and combat ribbons. President Roosevelt had promised us a GI Bill, but unfortunately he had passed away in 1945, and something changed. We got medals but no benefits. And here I thought all this time that I was part of the armed forces. That's why I dropped out of high school. We were told we were not given the GI Bill because we were civilians. 6,500 seamen were lost, destroyed by Nazi U-boats and elsewhere. I thought I had been in the armed forces. I didn't know about things like that. I was upset. My brother bought a home. He went to college. I didn't get anything. We should have been recognized after the war ended. A lot of us were hurt mentally and physically. They lost their limbs. But 40 years later, we were finally recognized as veterans with a watered-down GI Bill of rights, including home loans, college benefits, mustering out pay, medical care through the VA. I was 60 years old. And now Representative Bob Filner is introducing a bill in the House which would provide World War II seamen who served between 1941 and 1945 with $1,000 a month for the rest of our lives. A belated thank you from the American people. But all in all, I was not in the Merchant Marine for the money. My duty was to serve my country, and I feel that's what I did, and I am proud of my service. Thank you.